A few months ago, I had the good fortune to be asked by RAZBAM to take a look at their Falklands map, which has been in development for over 4 years at this point. Starting out as just the small island in the water, and then expanding to the mainland, and then pretty much half of South America. This is a huge map, and as it's close to release here in the coming days, the team over at RAZBAM asked if I'd like to take a quick tour around the map, and they showed off some of their favorite areas, and we really wanted to get down at low level and show off this map. A few things, of course, it's still in development, it's still early access, so some of these textures you're going to see, they're still getting tweaked. Of course, some of the buildings are still being built, but all of the bases and a lot of the little towns and villages look absolutely fantastic. Another thing to note, and we'll talk a little bit about it in the video, is just that, the terrain, particularly in the Falkland Islands, you might see it's sort of devoid of vegetation. Well, that's what it looks like in the actual Falkland Islands. Hopefully you guys enjoy this quick tour and a view of this map that's going to be released here in the coming days.
So this is Port Stanley Airfield.
Just recently named one of the smallest cities in the world off the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. It's being granted city status.
So we're just coming over towards the Lady Elizabeth, which is a shipwreck, famous shipwreck in the Falklands. So these large items on our right, the floating pontoons. The furthest one is a refrigeration pontoon, which the fisheries use to store their cargoes and various items.
At one point this was the hub, but they've converted East Cove, or Mare Harbour, into a deep water port. They spent millions of pounds or dollars getting it dredged, but also they've done a massive investment program in Stanley to bring it up because of the container ships. Because obviously, as you know, Cosmo, everything's brought in, apart from sheep. There was very little local. Even the houses. I mean, some people, the communities asked about the house colours, the roofs, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I was stationed down the Falklands in the Royal Navy, and the roofs are multicoloured, like we discussed last time, and that's only because people once upon a time used to have to share assets, where paint and stuff would get shipped in and they'd have to wait for it, so the locals would get together and say, right, well, let's decide on a different colour this time. So a lot of people commented as well, what about the Falklands? And it is exactly like this. It's very barren, and yet it's a very beautiful, majestical place, because you've got about 280 different plants that just lives just on the Falklands. And the ground textures that you see, it goes from very smooth sort of flatlands down in Lafonia, because that's a very flat part of the map, and to the sheer rugged, jagged cliffs.
So we'll just do a circuit of the crane on the left. So this is one of the custom assets that we've created with custom animations. So across the map we have these kind of cranes which randomly rotate to change the skyline.
I think what Clark's trying to capture here, Cosmo, is he wants the map to have a lived-in feeling, just like the community DCS. Like things like cranes moving of their own, static objects, where instead of everything just being placed, it feels like there is something going on. There's life inside of the area that's dictated.
Yeah, and the lighthouses light up at night, right?
Yep, and you've got a rotating beam that continually rotates, which is pretty cool at night. So just coming up on another custom asset we've placed and modeled. These are the wind turbines. Now the wind turbines, they are fully animated, so the blade speed is based on what the wind speed direction is. So the faster the wind, the faster the blades, and also they will always point towards the wind, whichever way the wind's coming. So across the Falklands you have a lot of farms, predominantly sheep farms, So we've modelled, I would say 99.9% of the farms in the Falklands. Pretty much to what they're supposed to be like in real life. We've got a few adjustments to make in the early access period for some of the building types. The plan was to go to the Falklands 2 years ago, but unfortunately COVID hit and the islands were locked down. Yeah, the plan is to visit the Falklands in the next 3 or 4 months and get reference and stuff like that, especially for the mountains and things. Yeah, one of our main goals really for the map was not to reenact a war or anything. It was to basically just portray what is here. To me, a map in DCS is a map. It doesn't reflect a specific conflict or anything like that for me. It's what the mission builder makes. And yeah, I mean, I think this 3.1 million square kilometers will allow mission makers to do some things that weren't possible in other maps. I mean, for instance, if we put a carrier down the bottom left-hand side of the map and tell it to sail to the right-hand side of the map, that would actually take you 3.5 days to do that at 24 knots.
And what base is this, or what building?
This is Mount Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant.
So this is the relatively new base, which I think was done in 1996.
Okay.
But I mean, the reason why we decided to include this is simply because, if we modelled this exactly as it was in 1982, the runway at Port Stanley would have been too short for anything. There's probably about 4 parking slots on the whole island, and they were at Port Stanley. So for functionality, you need something else. So this is pretty much my favourite airfield out of the whole lot, simply because it's so diverse, the types of shelters you've got. You've got like bunkers soil covered bunkers and through bunkers. You've got QRF slots, you've got standard parking slots. I mean, this airbase is probably the biggest one with regards to runways and stuff. So one thing you'll note, and you learn something every day, is that the markings on the runway are yellow.
Yeah.
And we learned that's actually correct. And the reason why it is because this area is susceptible to heavy snow.
Oh.
So they can actually see the markings in the snow. So here we've got about, about 40 parking slots. You've got QRF slots as well. This we're just passing one on our right. North of this airfield, you have a deep water refueling port. So you've got tanks and, as in fuel tanks, and also a fuel bridge for ships to refuel from. I mean, other than that, it is quite a trek to get anywhere from here, to be fair.
Oh.
This wouldn't be, unless it's a helicopter mission based around here, or you want to fly a long distance, then probably wouldn't start at this base, not in a helicopter anyway.
Was just going on to what you added to there, Clark. I think that's what people's gonna, especially mission makers, they're gonna have to utilize things like naval-borne aircraft that can get to certain places. They're not gonna fly all the time for an airbase. They're gonna go from places like FOBs. They're gonna go from like forward operating base, maybe sort of transition to where they'll rearm, refuel, and then go forward on the mission. Which again is a lot more like real life.
So that the post there is waiting for a new arrival. So there'll be a nice shiny new model coming. It should be delivered very soon, apparently, according to the transportation systems. So pretty much all of the buildings here, there's a few still left to replace. They're just kind of placeholders, maybe 4 or 5, but they are pretty accurate to the reference data that we could get.
And there's no flat buildings on the map, right? Everything is three-dimensional?
There is currently flat buildings on quite a lot of this map, but they're away from the airfields, but they will be all replaced.
Okay.
I'm not having any map. So basically every single airfield, whether it's small, medium, large, will be modeled in this map, along with every single house, farm, city, town. I mean, when we first started the project, the Falklands, it was just going to be the Falklands, maybe 100 miles each way. But then we put it out to the community, and they basically said, we want to fly from the mainland. So various iterations of don't like that. Oh, let's just model the whole nearly the South continent, which is where we're at now. So. Yeah, so quite a lot of the focus, I mean, we kind of more than double tripled our work, even though we know there's still a lot of work to do, especially on the ground textures of the mainland, because it's such a vast area. We will be doing that in EA. So people will note the bright, painfully blue building on the left, or your right. That is actually the color in real life, funny enough. Also the yellow, the gaudy yellow tower on your left on the top of the hill, pretty much exactly the same as that. We'll go and fly over Ushuaia. We'll go left here. So one thing to note, this was a conscious decision. If you look on the water, it looks like there is like reeds and grass growing through it, like water grass. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And if you're lucky, we might see Free Willy.
Oh really? You have whales and stuff jumping out?
Yeah, not jumping out, but we have killer whales swimming around in various places.
Huh. I know someone's going to ask, can you interact with them? Can you shoot them? Will they explode?
No, they won't explode.
Okay.
Or like a big Jaws thing. Yeah, so this is the Hilo port, which was the old. I mean, just coming in from that direction that we're flying is, you know, I guess it would be quite frightening actually. So we fleshed out the town pretty much how it is now. It looks pretty realistic, and we've taken a sample of build. Obviously, we can't model every single different type of building because that would kill DCS, you know, with the amount of polygons and different variations and stuff. But we've modeled pretty much a good selection to give the feel of being like Ushuaia.
I like how there's some like construction going on. Some of these buildings are like torn up or something.
Yeah. We try to make it as varied as possible to make it lived in.
Yeah.
And the map will be updated. I mean, with deforestation and various other things. I won't mention too much. I mean, one interesting thing that I think, and I haven't seen it in another map, is that if, for instance, you are, you know, you've got two different sides. Port Stanley, 7 a.m. flight. Round about December, that's going to be their summer, so that's going to be light, you know.
Yeah.
You got a flight starting at Ushuaia at 7 o'clock .7 o'clock. It's pitch black. So one of the things that we will be enhancing during EA is the mountains, so we can get some better resolution on the mesh, and also maybe some to enhance the textures as well. So if we continue sort of towards the north now, we'll come up against one of the largest lake, which is 102 kilometers long. So you can just see the lake, or part of the lake, just peeking through the two mountains on my 12 o'clock. Yes, I mean, when you see the scale of the lake, I mean, it is quite vast. Probably take a good 30 minutes to fly one end to the other in a helo.
Well, a big thank you to RAZBAM and to Spectre and Ripper for showing the map off to me and giving me a little tour. We flew around for about an hour and looked at various locales on the map. Hope you guys appreciated the detailed look at the map and that I did it justice. You may have caught 3.1, I believe he said, million square kilometers. So it is no slouch on size. And that also translates into size of your hard drive. I think they said it was going to be about 80 gigs when it's all said and done. So make room for this map. It should be coming here in the next few days. Again, thanks to RAZBAM and the team for showing it off. And I appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you.
Uh-oh. Trim.
No!
My trim, I pressed something. It just went spazzo.
That ends this part of the tour.
Yep.